Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome back to another look at the penalty system on Forza 7. So I had a look at this last week, and I think the most touching thing about last week's video was the fact that you can DNF everyone at Monza. That was quite a funny moment. So this is kind of a copy of that here at Le Mans. Basically the idea is the end race timer is 45 seconds. So as soon as the leader crosses the line, everyone else has got 45 seconds to finish the race, otherwise they don't get classified, otherwise they basically don't finish and don't get a position. So if the leader or anyone else can finish 45 seconds or more ahead of everyone else, then basically it doesn't matter how many penalties you get, you're going to beat them. So this is another example of a circuit where you can do that. Le Mans Bugatti, so you can cut the first Dunlop chicane, but at the tail end of the circuit you can pretty much do the same thing as well. You can cut up large portions of the circuit. So this is something that does need to be looked at, I think. Well, not I think, it does need to be looked at, because it's just a massive sort of oversight, you could say. So this is as a result really of taking away the tyre walls. So yes, you are going to get penalties for doing this, but the penalties don't count in a way because you finish so far ahead. No one else is classified. So here is this massive cut. You just ignore the chicanes at the end of the lap, cut across. I haven't really taken the best line. Obviously, I need to get good. On the map, there's about 4 other people in front of me, or exactly 4 people ahead of me who are doing exactly the same thing. So it kind of just shows you you've got this weird little mini game in itself, where some people are playing the normal game, and some people are just playing this DNF game. So the main thought I was thinking was the end race time of 45 seconds. Basically, you shouldn't be able to get more than 45 seconds worth of penalties. At this point here, I've got 46 seconds. So there should be some sort of automatic disqualification if you get more than 45 seconds. That way, you can't finish, more than 45 seconds ahead of anyone. Well, there just needs to be some sort of upper limit on what you can actually get in terms of penalties. Because if you can just keep doing this, then this is just going to be an ongoing problem where people just continuously try to DNF everyone. But at the same time, I don't think people really care too much about the results of the race, because in some ways there's no real deterrent for doing this. So I might do this, I get a penalty, but it's nothing like a sportsmanship rating or a driver rating system in this game, which I think would actually help a lot, and I think it goes hand in hand with a penalty system, because then it gives you an actual deterrent to doing it. So yes, I mean, I could get a penalty, but to me it is a deterrent, because I'd want to win a race properly if I was doing an actual proper race. But I think for a lot of people, let's say if you're just a genuine rammer or a genuine corner cutter and don't care at all, then a penalty probably isn't really much of a deterrent. There ought to be some sort of rating system so that if you get a big penalty, well, your ratings go down, and then you get matched up with other people who don't really care as well. And on the flip side, if you're a clean racer, then you're going to get matched up with other people who try to be clean as well. So that is something that is maybe looking a bit further ahead. At the moment, we're just looking at track limits for this system here. But that is something I think that really could work well in this game, and it goes hand in hand with the penalty system as it is. So crossing the line in 5th, there were 5 of us at the front here doing this, and in fact when the leader crossed the line, he was almost about to lap everyone. So that is the order there. So pretty much there, top 5 finished, no one else finished because we were so far ahead from cutting every corner. I got 2.5 minutes worth of penalties. So this is a quick clip from iWolf's. This kind of shows maybe an issue. Well, it does show an issue. Going into turn 1 in the Viper, he brakes on time, he's going to hit the apex, gets hit from behind into this big group, literally through the group, and well, nice 22-second penalty. So rather unusual moment. So obviously, there was contact, he overtook people, but it completely wasn't his fault because he was pushed into it. So that is a situation that has to be looked at when you get forced into overtaking people offline, but not because you cut the corner, but because someone forced you to cut the corner. Here's one where I wasn't forced, but the penalty didn't really match the crime. So 7 seconds. So the main thing here was I cut the corner, 100% I cut it, but you see there, the guy to the right hand side, I overtook someone whilst I was off track, therefore it ups the penalty, because I think that penalty wouldn't normally be 7 seconds, not for a cut like that. I mean, yes, it was a cut, it was only a very small one, but I think it added to the penalty because I overtook someone at the same time. So that's something that needs to be looked at, because sometimes there might be occasions where maybe the track is blocked or someone is right in front of you, you know, facing the wrong way or something, or laying up a smoke screen so you can't see where you're going, and you might go off track and overtake someone who's spun out or crashed or facing the wrong way, and you might genuinely be going off track just to, you know, just to escape the carnage, but then you get a penalty or a larger penalty than you normally would. So there are these weird occasions, and for example here I just fit through that gap. Maybe if that car was further to the left and I had to go off the track to avoid it, then I would have got a penalty for overtaking the 2 cars. So there are these weird little situations that could really throw up some weird penalties, and it's really difficult. I must say, it's going to be really difficult to make a system that gets everything dead correct every time. It is really, really difficult. So I think the system as it is right now is a very good start. It's a very good start. There do need to be some obvious tweaks. So of course the DNF thing has to stop. Have to make some sort of upper limit to the penalties that you can get, after which you get a DSQ ideally. This guy comes flying across, it gets exploded on the wall. So you got, I mean, this hopper is weird now. You've got these weird disjointed races where some people are just cutting everything, really just to test the system, I suppose. I mean, as I did at the Le Mans Bugatti race, they've got a lot of people behind racing normally. I suppose, I mean, it is a beta hopper, so you're just testing, I suppose. So, I mean, that is kind of to be expected. But it does create quite a weird dynamic in the lobby. But the other thing, another thing that is going to be changing, as they mentioned on the Forza Monthly, is the increments of the penalty. So at the moment it only works in full seconds. So the smallest penalty you can get is 1 second. Whereas sometimes you honestly you go wide or you cut a corner by a millimetre, and you probably deserve maybe a half a second penalty, but that is going to be coming. So they will be making small increments for penalties in May. So that's something that ought to be changed a little bit, just the general size of the penalties, which is a little bit strict, I would say, at the moment. You could say that's a deterrent though. So I would like to think that, let's say in an FRC race, a Forza Racing Championship race, where you've got all the top players racing for a lot of money on the line, you know, they would be racing within the limits as best as possible. They'd be getting as close as they possibly can, absolutely maximising the track wherever possible, which would be very different than what you're seeing in this kind of hopper here. So I do think that the system is a deterrent on the most part to corner cutting. You don't want to corner cut because you won't win the race otherwise. And you see there, I tried to race as clean as I could that time, and I actually got the win. So here's an example of probably the only time ever that I've got around the first corner at bar first without getting seriously murdered. So from pole position it does help, I must say. But you look behind, obviously it wasn't a clean start per se, because pretty much everyone else got caught up in the murder. There's something around this track which I was just wondering could be exploitable, is the walls. So the track limit just runs up pretty much to the wall, but could you possibly just run around there, use the wall for contact, and not really get a penalty for that? That's something that might have to be looked at. But this is an interesting example of something quite quirky. So at Nürburgring Nordschleife in the good old Ferrari. So I get on the brakes nice and early, and then sort of get pushed, and you see loads of people going wide. So it must be reiterated that this system at the moment is just for track limits. So it's really difficult. I mean, imagine that start there, how difficult it's going to be to judge who exactly caused everything there. It's going to be really difficult to get everything dead right, because there's so much going on in this game a lot of the time. it really is going to be an absolute headache for any system to work out who's to blame for everything absolutely correctly every time. It's going to be really, really difficult. So I can totally understand why they've just focused on track limits for now, because it is going to be really hard. Now this is quite a quirky way to go through the chicane. So who cares about braking? Just go straight across the grass, PGR3 style, and go flat from the gap. And it actually teleported me further around the track. How cool is that? Yeah, not the greatest driving you ever see. That moment there, and get clattered into from behind just for good measure. So really sort of awkward driving in the Ferrari here. So we did a couple of these races at Nordschleife in like LMP or X-rated class cars, and it did make for some messy racing. But it's a good test of the system, I suppose, as well. So through the final couple of corners, penalty time up to 17 seconds as we come up to the line, and we're going to claim second, although the penalties are going to put us down, of course, once again. So we're going to move to an IndyCar race at Indianapolis, of all places. So something else I wanted to quickly mention was the track limits. So some of the track limits are a bit weird. I think most of the time they are absolutely fine. So a lot of people saying that you can't use the curbs. So for example here, the blue and white curbs. Well, you can, because remember you can put 2 wheels beyond the line. So you can go onto the curb. It's just you have to be very careful about it, of course. And you've only got the sort of the width of the car beyond the line. So as long as you've got 2 wheels within the blue sort of ribbon there, then you're fine. So you can go beyond it. It's just you have to be very, very careful. So here's an example of just about not being careful enough. So you see, I just go. I think it was pretty much 3 wheels beyond that line. And in a way, I was trying to be careful to give that guy space and not lunge him too much. And it just kind of turned out that I turned in too early. I got a penalty for it. So I mean, you do have to readjust the way you're driving to match the new track limits. But something I was going to say, yeah, is some of the track limits are a bit weird. So Prague and Rio, some of the chicanes there, just really questionable, really difficult to expect, especially the Prague chicane. Imagine a 24-player race and trying to expect everyone to go through there on lap 1, squeezing through the really tight track limit. It's just asking a lot, I think, with no one going wide. So some of the track limits could be changed a little bit, but ultimately I think in most places they are good, and it is a really good system actually that you can see the track limits. Because I'd imagine that if you saw the Gran Turismo ones, if they let you see exactly what the limits are, it would look really strange, and there'd be lots of examples where you think, well, why is it like that there, and why is it like that there? And there's plenty of examples where Gran Turismo does not get it right as well. So it's good that we can at least see the lines here. You know where the limit is, and you can just adjust your driving to it. So I mean that is a plus side. But just touching on something from earlier in the video, I do think that hand in hand with this system there really does need to be some sort of sportsmanship or driver rating, because currently in this game I don't feel as though there's enough sort of incentive to be clean. So I mean you can be clean in this hopper and you'll probably pick up some race wins, but even then I don't think there's really any bonus or benefit to winning races on this game. There's no real recognition, there's no rating to work towards, there's no bonuses as such. You just get the little podium ceremony and then it just moves on very quickly. There's no real sort of reward, I don't feel. And let's say they did a contact penalty system as well, which would presumably come after the track limits system. Then even then, if you're a rammer, if you're a genuine rammer, you probably don't care about penalty. You're probably just going to hit everyone off anyway. And it doesn't really stop someone who just wants to cut corners or who wants to ram people off. It doesn't stop them because they can just do it anyway, just get the penalty. And then it's not like their rating is going to go down. It's not like they're going to get banned as such. I mean, obviously they can get banned if you report them through the normal process, but ultimately they can just do it and they're not going to get banned there and then. They can just carry on. So there is something to be that's something to be considered, I think, for later on in the game. Some sort of system just to preserve ratings, some sort of system on that respect. I do like the openness of this game though, the fact that anyone can race anywhere. That is a very good upside of Forza Motorsport. But that is the end of the video. Do let me know your thoughts on this one, on the system, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.